Dr. R. Sugurat Samuel is working as professor in physics in SRM University, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE, and BITSAT. He has more than 16 years of academic experience both in teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals. It is prescribed book in the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has attended and presented papers in several national and international conferences and conducted many training programs and workshops. He has experience in both regular classroom teaching and also online teaching. His research areas are ultrasonics, polymers, crystal growth, and photovoltaic systems.
Welcome to UGC lecture series on Applied Sciences Electronics. We have been listening to a series of lectures on the topics pertaining to the main paper 1 under semester 1 with the title Electrostatics and Basic Electronics. And in today's lecture, we are going to see the concepts of magnetic effects of current. It is a very interesting topic. Magnets are always very fascinating to us, and the magnetism can be divided into two types. One is naturally existing magnets or natural magnetism. The other one is current produced magnets or current magnetism. When current is flowing in a wire, there are various effects happening. We have already seen when current flows in a wire, it produces heat, that was called Joule heating effect. And in the same way, when current flows through a wire, it also sets a magnetic field. In today's lecture, we are going to see the fundamentals of magnetic effects of current, and this is today's session outline. In this session, we are going to see the magnetic effects of current, the direction of magnetic field caused by current element, and also magnetic field are caused by a current element, and also finally Biot-Savart law. When we want to learn the magnetic effect of current, we need to understand what is magnetism. In lower classes, we have already learnt about the natural magnets. There are lots of historical backgrounds, but quite interesting are there about the natural magnets. When did it start? So, let us quickly have a look at the historical background of the magnetism, I mean the natural magnetism. Many historians of science believe that the compass, which uses a magnetic needle, was used in China as early as 13th century BC, its invention being of Arabic or of Indian origin. The Greeks knew about magnetism as early as 800 BC. They discovered that the stone magnetite Fe3O4, that chemical formula, attracts pieces of iron. But we have a very interesting legend behind this name magnet. We thought the stone, which is called magnetite, has the directional property. So, the same name is later on changed into magnet or magnetic, but there is another legendary information or legendary story behind the name magnet. Let us see that also. The legend ascribes the name magnetite to a shepherd Magnus, the nails of whose shoes and the tip of whose staff stuck fast to chunks of magnetite while he pastured his flocks. In 1269, a French man named Pierre de Maricourt mapped out the directions taken by a needle placed at various points on the surface of a spherical natural magnet and found out that the lines passed through 2 points diametrically opposite each other, which he called the poles of the magnet. So, a magnet has poles. How the poles have been identified? By using another magnetic needle, people found out the two lines or the continuous lines end at two different points. So, they said the 2 points are called poles. So, this is how the concepts of magnetism evolved in the early days, and we are now just seeing the concepts behind the natural magnetism, but our aim is to understand the concepts behind the magnetism produced by the current, but it is pertinent to know about the rudimentary concepts of magnetism. So, that is why we are seeing the very basic concepts in magnetism. Let us continue to see the other points too. Subsequent experiments showed that every magnet, regardless of its shape, has two poles called north and south that exert force on each other. Again, why the poles are called north and south poles? It is actually a north seeking pole and south seeking pole were the names originally given. Because these magnets have directional property, the two poles tend to align in the north south direction. One pole always tends to look at the north side of the earth, the other pole faces the south side. So, that alignment is said as directional property. So, one pole seeks the north, so it is called north seeking pole, or in short north pole, and similarly the south pole. So, every magnet has these two poles, and in lower classes we have already learnt there is no unipole possible in magnet, and magnetic lines represent the magnetic field and they are continuous lines. Unlike the electric field, they originate from the positive charge and negative charge, they can exist separately. Positive charge can be separated and negative charge can be separated, they can be kept at a distance, wherever we want to keep them we can keep. But as far as magnet is concerned, because there is no unipole, the magnetic poles exist together. In lower classes we already learnt, even if we break a bar magnet, a naturally existing bar magnet into two pieces, a new north and south pole appear at the newly broken ends. So, these concepts we are already familiar with. So, having learned these basic concepts, we will go ahead how these have correlation with the magnetic field produced by current or current elements. Magnetic effect of current. The relationship between magnetism and electricity was first discovered in 1890 when during a lecture demonstration a Danish scientist Hans Christian Ørsted found that an electric current in a wire deflected a compass needle kept accidentally nearby. It was actually an accidental invention. A current carrying wire could even affect a magnet. Before the experiment done by Ørsted, people thought there is no correlation between a current and magnetic effect, but this historical demonstration, which was actually an accidental demonstration, led to a new era in the electricity and magnetism. Because there is a relation between the current and electricity, current and magnetism, as demonstrated by Ørsted, the curiosity developed further and many scientists started working in that area. And we will see who are the other people who started working in that area and started exploring more into the relation between current and magnetism. In 1820s, further connections between electricity and magnetism were demonstrated by Michael Faraday and independently by Joseph Henry. These two are legendary scientists. They have done their experiments at two different parts of the world and they had their own findings, but later on when these findings were publicized, known to the public, they had the similar observations. So, in their names we have lots of magnetic and electrical units. To honor them, these units are called after their names, the quantities are called after their names. Let us see what happened further. The direction of magnetic field. The magnetic field is a vector quantity, so it has a direction. Experiments such these were further performed to find out what about the direction of this magnetic field. These experiments are very familiar to us right from school days. A current carrying wire is made to pass through a board, a cardboard which contains lots of iron fillings. When slightly tapped, these iron fillings had a tendency to align in concentric circles. So, these two diagrams bring back to our mind the direction of magnetic field that is existing around current carrying wire or current carrying loop. Let us have the diagrams, and these are the iron fillings taking the concentric shapes, and here also this is a current carrying loop. The iron fillings clearly show there is something that makes them align in this direction. So, this gives us a preliminary idea about the direction of magnetic field. And to conclude, let us take these two pictures. If the current is going into the page or current is going, the left hand side diagram says the current is going into the page and the right hand side diagram shows the current is coming out of the page, and this is a magnetic needle which is having the north and south pole. So, we represent the magnetic field using the terminology clockwise and anti-clockwise. If the current is inwards for us, the magnetic field is existing in the clockwise direction. If the current is coming out from the page, then the magnetic field is existing in the anti-clockwise direction. These are the preliminary methods of specifying the direction of the magnetic field, but we have still sophisticated ways to mention the direction of the magnetic field that is existing around these current elements. So, what sets a magnetic field around a current carrying element? It is a fact, it is naturally existing. We may not be able to explain further why such a magnetic field is existing. We need to take up higher concepts of science to explain this, but right now we can take it as a factual information that a current carrying wire sets magnetic field around it. It could be taken as a factual information. Now, as I said, how we are going to take care of the direction of magnetic field in a more generic form? Is there any law or is there any rule that governs the direction of magnetic field? We will see what sort of generic rule that we have to find the direction of magnetic field that is set by the current elements after a short break. Welcome back. We are discussing about a generic rule for finding the direction of magnetic field set by current elements. So, let us have a look at the diagram. It might be familiar for us, but even then we will try to understand how to establish a general rule, accepted rule for finding the direction of the magnetic field set by current elements. Let us have a look at the diagram. The direction of magnetic field is found using a rule. That rule is called right hand thumb rule. As the diagram clearly depicts it, we need to hold or grab the wire so that the thumb is pointing in the direction of the current. Here it is upwards. So, the thumb points in the upward direction, the hand used is right hand, that is very important. We should not use the left hand on any account, because it will totally change the direction. That is why the name itself is right hand thumb rule. The magnetic field is in the direction the other fingers curl around it. There are 4 other fingers that curl around the current carrying wire in one particular fashion. It could be clockwise or anti-clockwise based on our view. So, the field is perpendicular to the direction of the current, and in this diagram it is shown the magnetic field is existing in a circular form and which is perpendicular at a particular point to the current element. We will see how this is perpendicular in the next illustration, and the magnetic lines are set perpendicular to the current carrying wire. Here it is shown as a line, black line. This is depicting the current carrying wire. The magnetic field is set around it, and we have got a technique to find out what is the direction of magnetic field. Just I would like to give a small demonstration of the right hand thumb rule. Let us take this pen tip is representing the direction of current, it is upwards here, and it is setting it is set magnetic field around it. And how to find out the magnetic field? We have to grab with the right hand the thumb pointing the direction of current. So, the way in which the other fingers curl around. So, this is how the magnetic field is existing. Whatever be the orientation of the current element, that does not matter. All we need to do is we have to grab with the right hand the thumb pointing the direction of current, that tells the direction of magnetic field. So, here it is in this direction, the direction is downwards for the current, then the magnetic field is in this manner. Now, let us try to understand how to find out the magnitude of the magnetic field that is set by the current element. The magnitude is also important, because magnetic field is a vector quantity, it has direction as well as magnitude. The direction we could easily find using the right hand thumb rule. Now, what about the magnitude? How to find out the magnitude of the magnetic field? So, for that, if you look at the diagram carefully, the way in which the iron fillings arrange themselves around the current element give us some idea. Let us have the diagram once again. If you look at the diagram, and very close to the wire, the iron fillings are arranged slightly denser. Here it is very dense, and as we move outwards, the field is, or the filling, iron filling alignment is becoming less dense. So, it clearly gives us an idea, very close to the current element, the magnetic field is stronger. As we move outwards from the wire, the magnetic field becomes weaker. That is what is mentioned here in words. Experiments with current carrying wire elements revealed that the magnitude of magnetic field is inverse squarely related to the perpendicular distance from the current element. So, as the distance increases, the magnetic field is decreasing inverse squarely. This was experimentally proved on several demonstrations. So, we have now learnt about the direction of magnetic field and the idea about the magnitude of magnetic field. Let us try to combine these two together, because it is a vector quantity, and try to understand how the magnetic field could be found as a vector quantity. For that, two scientists combinedly did lots of experiments, and they have come out with one consolidated law. That law is called Biot-Savart law. Let us see who are the two scientists. Shortly after Oersted's discovery, Jean-Baptiste Biot, the T here is silent, and Felix Savart performed quantitative experiments to get the expression for the magnetic field produced by current elements. From their experimental results, Biot and Sawat arrived at a mathematical expression that gives the magnetic field at some point in space in terms of the current that produces the field. So, what decides the magnitude of current, the magnitude of magnetic field? It is the current that produces a magnetic field, and not only current, the distance, sometimes even the orientation, all of these might or the length of the current element, all of these might decide the magnitude of magnetic field produced by the current element. So, Biot and Sawat together they did lots of experiments. Based on the experimental evidences, they were able to formulate a formula. That law is called Biot-Savart law. Let us try to understand what is this Biot-Savart law. That expression is based on the experimental observations for the magnetic field dB. Here dB is an elemental magnetic field, B represents magnetic field and dB is an elemental value of that at a point P associated with the length element dl. L is the length and dl is elemental length of a wire carrying a steady current I. The magnetic field dB is found to be. So, this diagram tells what is taken as dl and what is taken as the current I and what is the distance r taken. It is not mentioned in this paragraph, but in the diagram it is depicted. So, the magnetic field dB is found to be directly proportional to the current I, directly proportional to the length of the element dl, directly proportional to the sine of the angle between dl and the line joining the element and the point P, that is sin theta. So, it takes care of the orientation and inversely proportional to the square of the distance of the point from the element. So, the magnetic field, the magnitude of the magnetic field depends on the 4 quantities that we have seen right now, and how these quantities are related, and we have given the proportionalities also. Some are directly proportional, some are inversely proportional, some are inverse squarely proportional. So, keeping all these relations which were found using the experimental results, they were able to formulate the equation. The equation is formulated as like this. The expression for Biot-Savart law is dB is proportional to the steady current I, the elemental length dl, the orientation term sin theta and the distance between the elemental length and the point where we observe the magnetic field, that is r. And when we want to get away with the proportionality, we have to introduce the proportionality constant k, and here k is related, or k is the proportionality constant, that is again considered to be a constant that depends on the medium in which the magnetic field is set, mu divided by 4 pi. 4 pi is of course a numerical constant and mu is called the permeability of the medium. So, when we introduce this constant k as mu divided by 4 pi, the Biot-Savart law is now written as this form. It includes the magnetic constant of a medium mu. We will see elaborately about the permeability constant mu in the later sessions. At a later stage, we will be able to learn the importance of mu permeability and what are the factors that are deciding the mu. So, right now it is just taken as a magnetic constant of the medium in which the magnetic field is set, and here mu is written as mu naught and mu r. Mu naught is the permeability of free space or vacuum and mu r is the relative permeability. For free space, mu naught has a value as 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 and it has a unit also, that and all we will see in the next session, and for free space the mu r is 1. So, mu r is relative permeability. If you rewrite this mu r, the mu r becomes mu divided by mu naught. So, it is the relation between, or the ratio of permeability of the medium to permeability of free space. So, when we include these permeability factors and all the terms, we end up with the consolidated Biot-Savart law, which takes care of the direction and also the magnitude of the magnetic field produced by the current element. Let us have a look at the consolidated Biot-Savart law equation, and this equation we have already seen. The only change that we have made is, instead of mu we have written mu naught. Mu naught is permeability of free space, and we already know the dB term, the magnetic field, elemental magnetic field is a vector quantity, but when we look at the terms on the right hand side, we do not have anything related to vector form. So, we can modify this relation to a vector relation, and this is the vector relation. dB is now having a bar over it. So, it is a vector quantity, and IDL is called the current element, and this is R. R is again a distance, and that has a direction. So, it is a cross product. Hope you are all familiar with the vector product. So, vector product is sometimes referred as cross product, and this is also one form of the Biot-Savart law. The difference between these two forms is this: if R is written as a unit vector here, then the denominator will have R square, which is mapping with the scalar equation that we have already written. R is just a direction factor here, it is a unit vector, but when we write R as a regular vector, then we need to write the cube here, but it does not mean the magnetic field is related to this cubical term in the denominator, but it is still this expression that is valid. But in the vector way, if we want to write, we can write this, and if you open this cross product into a scalar form, we will always introduce the sin theta. The theta is the angle between this dl and this r. So, it will be converted into a scalar form. So, we have seen the Biot-Savart law in the scalar form and also in the vector form, and we have come across a cross product existing in the expression. Cross product in vectors is a very direction oriented product. When two vectors are multiplied with a cross product, the result is also a vector. So, that is very well established in the Biot-Savart law that is written in the vector form. Let us look at the expression once. If we cross multiply the current element IDL with the distance r, this is a cross product, the result is also a vector. So, mathematically it is beautifully established, the vector on the left hand side and the right hand side is also a vector. We will be able to see the other features that are attached with the cross product in the coming lectures. We will have to wait for it, and today we will wind up with this. Before we wind up, let us see the summary of this session. In this session, we have seen the concepts of magnetic effect of current, direction of magnetic field, magnitude of magnetic field, and also an important law governing the magnetism produced by the current, that is Biot-Savart law. Let us check our understanding by answering some of these basic questions. Who has observed first the relation between magnetism and current? State the right hand thumb rule. How is the magnitude of magnetic field and distance from the current element to a point related? How is the strength of current and the magnetic field at a point related? We will explore all the other mathematical aspects of the Biot-Savart law and how this law could be used for finding the magnetic field due to straight wire, due to a current carrying loop, and related concepts in the coming lectures. Thank you.